Well, I mean, so sticking on the subject, like I'm obviously a huge hockey guy. Like I played hockey all growing up, and that's always been my like first love. But just like it was something that we talked about a little bit ago before we got on. But like the Winter Classic, like being kind of that like big jewel moment event for the NHL, and being a part of it on your home turf. Maybe a little bit further away from actual home, but right down the street, and
Yeah.
doing so against like another expansion team too, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Take me through that from the inside of like, the planning that goes on to get you to that point and all the different things that you're really getting ready to then make, this jewel event really shine on your channels.
Yeah. I mean, I think just like from the first get go, like the both storylines, the two newest expansion teams, that's exciting. I think obviously it's a team effort from behind the scenes, from our marketing team, our brand team, obviously sales and everyone here at the Kraken. But I think for us, it was you had like this Winter Classic game, but you also had everything else going on in season. Like everyone's like, "Hey, what's planned for this game?" I'm like, "We still have 2 more weeks of games." like, and like each, in hockey, like each day is different. Like the narrative changes at times, so it's like I didn't want to get too ahead of myself. For at least for myself, I think for our team in general, we did a lot of great stuff in terms of like make sure we're prepared for it. And I think obviously none of us the dream scenario is like, hey, sunny weather, keep that roof open at T-Mobile Park. And I think we had the picture perfect day for weather wise. But I think going into it, we want to make sure it just felt very Seattle. We want everything from the guys coming in like in those like Pike Place uniforms, from tossing fish for the entrances, having Sir Mix-a-Lot, having just we want to keep it very like if you came to that event like that, this is very Seattle, kind of like an ode to like the Seattle legends that came before us as well. We had a lot of the past athletes from Sonic, Seahawks, Mariners kind of come up during the game as well. So I think everyone kind of walked away from that event being like that was very Seattle in a way. And I think shout out to like I said our team beforehand, like the marketing team, brand, everyone kind of coming in together, kind of put all those videos together, working with the league. Obviously, our players as well too. But I think you couldn't drop the weather. Like that was perfect, perfect day, and obviously the result too. Like us shutting out Vegas. Like I'll be honest, I'm not sure if many people had that prediction. But yeah, I think just being at that event, I think as a fan is great. But I think for us on social, it's like, okay, how do we take this, but also have everyone who's not here feel that energy, I kind of have that FOMO at the same time. But yeah, definitely took a lot of planning, but at the same time, planning, but also staying in the current season as well. Make sure, hey, focus on the games that we have coming up. So there's definitely a lot of work behind the scenes.
It makes total sense. And like you bring up a good point of team performance. And like when something like this happens in the middle of the season, it's like if you're on like a 10 game losing streak, it's so much harder to
Yep.
do everything you want to do compared to if you're, first place in your conference. Like that's something that I think goes a little bit under the radar. I mean, everyone
Yep.
obviously understands like if you're winning, content's better. If you're losing, it's not. But like there's always something where it's like you have all these amazing things planned, and like we unveiled like a new uniform this past season, and it was like you're praying that not only everything goes right, and we had this big rollout plan of how we would kind of lead into it, but it's at the same time it's like you're hoping that the team wins all these games so that then it makes sense, and like you have to plan in like secondary options of when you can post stuff. And, obviously like baseball, hockey, basketball all have more games than, football. It's once a week, but like there's so much more to that planning when it's like game results matter. And, even more so than just on the ice, it's everything it touches is kind of affected.
Yeah, it's gotta be said. Like I feel like everything's way easier when you're winning. Like you can really post whatever you want. Like everything's gonna do numbers. Like everyone's happy. Everyone's happy in the comments. Which kind of brings us to the point. Like I think our first season, I'm glad our inaugural season went the way it did personally, just because yes, we were losing a lot, but I think for us it kind of made us look. We can't control what happens on the ice, but we can control what happens out there on social. Like what stories are we showcasing? What's the narrative that we're trying to tell? How we connect with fans? Where fans aren't just we're not just relying on that performance. So I think for us, this is like a little fun thing that me and Sav do. Teams when you lose, teams just do like the final score graphic. It's kind of become a thing where you just said final. We kind of made it a goal where whether we win or lose, we try not to use the word final. Like we haven't done a final score graphic yet, um, which is tough. But I think you always trying to find like the bright side of each situation, like without making it like we didn't want to come across like as if we're making a joke about the team, but we just want to have fun. You know, social media is a place to be entertained. You probably pop on your timeline to be entertained. You know, like yes, there's times where it sucks losing, and we want to humanize the account, but at the same time, we want to make sure we remind people, hey, we're here to have fun. So it's how do we kind of bring light to any kind of situation, which then makes it easier when you are winning. It kind of makes it feel a little bit better, and like I said, everything kind of hits when you're winning.
Well, and that's it. Like you bring up a great point. Like I've always told any team I've worked for is like you want your content here so that when your team, the play on the field, like it gets even close to there, it's like
Yep.
you're the greatest team that's ever thought of social media. When in fact, it's like when you're, the performance on the field is lower, you're still doing amazing content. It just doesn't get seen as much. So it's like it's always that back and forth, like you said, of like how much fun can you have? Like how, when do the memes come out? Like how do you do what we're doing and trying to entertain, trying to inform, but like keep things on the entertaining level rather than like always being so serious and so like live or die. And it's a hard balance to find.
Yeah, it's definitely easier said than done, but I think it's kind of like the joy in this industry. You know, it's kind of like that challenge that me and you kind of go through every day, and we both find joy in it. I'm sure you know, but I think like you said, going into the Winter Classic, is we had like a plan in place, which is any kind of like rollout you do, you always want to have like that one like foundation plan, but at the same time, you got to be flexible. Like you know, it's gonna be curveball. You know, something not everything's gonna go right. You know, something's gonna happen. It's just being flexible and being able to go off the script sometimes too. So, but it's definitely good to have a plan in place, which we always do. But at the same time, having that mindset, like, hey, if something doesn't go how we want it, like we got to be able to adjust on the run.
Well, and I always talk about it's like our job is to prepare for the unplanned. And it's like
Yep.
it's so much work to just get that baseline strategy and like here's all the content like if everything goes the way we want it to, here's what we want to do. But here's plan B if something else like this happens. Here's plan C. Here's plan all the way down to Z. And then all of those plans get thrown out as soon as something that you didn't think would happen happens. And then it's like
Yep.
even like you said, like shutting out Vegas, like something that you wouldn't have expected. And then it's like, how do you turn that on its head and celebrate that in, as quickly as you can when it's like, I mean, you never would have saw it coming.
Yeah, definitely. I think even like in the meetings beforehand, like we always, I feel like there's a ton of like, okay, what if this happens? They sound like crazy scenarios, but you really never know in this industry what possibly is going to happen. And I think with the Winter Classic too, like a lot of it was kind of led by the league as well. So kind of working with them, I kind of started with the whole like the jersey leaks, so kind of building up the hype there, and then going into the season, like having that always having the Winter Classic there, kind of how do we get the whole city involved with it? You know, so like try and get the brand out there. But I think in those meetings beforehand, it's always okay. What if this happens? Like, what if it is raining? Like, how are we going to go about it? You know, what if we do have to close that roof? Um, what's the plan? How's it going to look on social? Like, how do we kind of go about it? So it's always good to have as many backup plans as you can.
For sure. Well, and you brought up a good point too, is like, making the entire experience very much like Seattle. It feels like Seattle, like that it's Seattle, but like that link between what's going on in, the ballpark at the rink, like whatever it is, like extending that to social is so like I feel like it's the good teams have always done it, but it's something like in different stops that I've been at, it wasn't always the same, where it was like they were kind of the same experience, but it was slightly different. So it's like you may have this, whoever, this Cardinals fan who had never been to a game in person and experiences something so different on social than the person who has season tickets that's at the stadium every game and doesn't see that. So it's like like I said, you brought up the great point that it's like how important it is to have that, synergy between what's going on at the rink, out in the ballpark, like wherever you
Yeah,
are, so that everyone, like you said, across the world, all the Kraken fans know exactly what's happening and how it all feels.
yeah, and it's kind of giving like those fans who aren't there, like how do we give them kind of like that BTS, you know, like, and I think we can do so much with our phones. I feel like misconceptions social media is like we have to have like the fancy camera and all that, but the stuff that I capture my phone and get out there is like that stuff really hits in my opinion. So I think with the Winter Classic having showing the guys in the locker room again, like showing that walk from the dugout onto like the little deck they built, um, just giving fans that view as well. Like that is a big thing for us, and obviously showing the whole game day experience with team coming in, and it's just felt like a whole celebration, which was really fun.
Well, and that's it. Like our job at the end of the day too is like you want people to want to be at the game. Like
Yeah,
spend money, buy tickets, buy merch, all that good stuff. But it's like the more amazing that you can make these things look on social, it could lead to someone, wandering into your ballpark at some point down the road or down into the arena. Like it's very interesting, kind of the connection of, sometimes there's that direct correlation of like, we posted this ticket ad, we had X amount of clicks, and this is how much revenue we made. Where on the other side, it's like someone may click on something, like you said, like the clips of the guys walking out of the dugout across the ramp onto the ice, or the guys arriving, or just like, a beautiful shot of the stadium, the arena. Like that might click in someone that, hey, I'm going to be in Seattle. I might as well go to a game. It looked amazing. Like it's so funny where there are like the direct correlation sometimes, but there's also just that like you're trying to make it cool to be a Kraken fan, a Pirates fan, a Cardinals fan, like a Lakers fan. Like that's our job. And,
yeah.
sometimes there isn't that direct line that you can draw to revenue or something like that.
Yeah, and I feel like you never know what that connection is. Like I feel for us, the big thing is showcasing the player personality, showcasing what they're passionate about. A lot of stuff like off the ice too. Like, if you can connect the connection between a fan and a player, there'll be they might go buy their gear. They might tune in on TV or into the radio as well. Hey, maybe it's a fan in another city, and if we come to that city, they're gonna show up to the game. Like just being involved in that way, you never know what that connection is gonna be.